Hello, I'm Thomas Reiner, the Lean Farmer. Welcome to another exciting video. This week we've got a couple of improvements for you, plus we got to see some cool things, do some cool things. One of our big improvements this week was we took out one of our chicken coops. It was an old chicken coop, and 50 to 70 years old. When we first moved up here, the birds really liked it, but it just got to the point where it was falling down and it was too dangerous, and lots of other critters that wanted to kill the chickens could get in there, so we had to move the chickens out, and now we're gonna knock down that building. So that was a big improvement, and then we've got a few others mixed in there for you and some fun. So hope you enjoy this week's video. So I hooked the truck up to the chicken coop and would pull off boards, and that made it real easy instead of fighting with a crowbar, and slowly but surely started picking away at it. And what was kind of crazy is the front of the thing, I took out the main support pieces, and it still wouldn't come down. And I kept working away at it, chipping away at it, and eventually, sometimes I would even cut some of the beams a little bit. You could see how much it would pull over and swag over, but it just would not collapse. And I basically had some new boards toward the back corner of the building that I had used to plug or patch a hole, and those boards basically kept the whole thing together and wouldn't let it collapse or fall. So then I finally got over there, got those boards done, and the thing collapsed and fell. I was able to get up on top of it, get the tin off of it, and then slowly start to take it apart. So one of the things that drives me crazy when I'm trying to make videos is sometimes I need my hands free, and I don't have anything to hold the camera. So I fixed what bugs me, and I've come up with something to hold the camera. I'm using a selfie stick or like an iPhone iPole, and then just took a couple pieces of wood, put something together to make a foundation for me. The selfie stick, just a couple pieces of 2x4, 2x3, drilled a hole in it so it sits in there and holds it, and then it'll do the camera holding for me. So when I need getting ready to go to one of Tommy and I's favorite places. We haven't shown it to the girls yet. It's called the Devil's Marble Yard, and it has got some crazy gnarly rocks in it. So I hope you enjoy this. All right, so we're gonna pick up the Belfast Trail. We just park the truck on the side of the road, do a little short hike down the road, and we pick up the trail. So you have to cross multiple creeks to get up there, and they were high, unusually high. So we actually had to take our shoes off to cross the first one. And then this is rated as a difficult trail, and just the walk up there has lots of rocks everywhere, and you really have to watch where you put your feet, because you could easily twist an ankle or throw out a knee. And even when you're coming down and you're tired, you really have to pay attention. It's a good marked trail, though, and it's a good mile up there to get to the actual rocks or the marble yards. This is where we had to come up with our own way to cross a creek. And then when it rains, basically the trail has a bunch of water coming down it. So this is where you're supposed to cross. We actually crossed right there, and then you don't go 20 yards up the trail and you got to cross again. So we're gonna forge another trail. So coming up the trail, and you can just start to see through the woods the boulder pile, and it is crazy. That's just the first little quarter of it. And the boulder pile is enormous. And the area right there at the foot of the boulders is beautiful with lots of waterfalls. There's a trail that goes up to the right-hand side of the boulders, and that's a pretty strenuous trail, and then awesome waterfalls. And then you can actually get out there on the boulders and climb around and have a good time climbing around on the boulders. The view is amazing. And then we found a cool place to kind of camp out, if you will, and then just watch lots of people climbing the boulders. And they're so high up there that people are just like little specks, and it's pretty fun to watch them. And it's really just a cool place to hang out as a family. The weather was great. I wouldn't want to go if it was too hot, because there would probably be a lot of snakes. You can see some people moving around on the boulders as they try to climb up the boulders. And then it's always fun to actually get out there and climb on the boulders. When Tommy and I came, we climbed up the entire side of the mountain up through the boulder pile, and that is a crazy workout because every step you take, you're having to stretch your legs, strain your arms, and the boulders, we joked, are basically the size of VW Bugs, and so you're constantly basically climbing over something the equivalent of a Volkswagen Bug. But when you get out there, you can have a real good time doing it. You have to kind of pick your path and climb around. You got to make sure you don't drop anything down into the holes, because if you do, it's gone. And then if you were to fall in a hole, then you'd really be having a bad day. It'd be very difficult to get you out of there. And we just played around for a little bit and climbed up on some big rocks, watched Jen as she was relaxing, having a good time up there on the rocks. And then we started the trail back down. And the descent is, again, pretty steep, but you get to see some beautiful scenery, the waterfalls coming off the rocks and running down the side of the mountain. So one of the other improvements I wanted to show you was an app. I don't show too many app improvements, but just like we're real picky about how we treat our soil up here, what goes into the soil, we're also, like, we don't use any chemicals or fertilizers or any of that kind of stuff. We're also very picky about what goes into our bodies and what comes into our home as far as chemicals go. So I found this really cool app, and it works pretty slick, so check it out. Okay, so I got this cool app on my phone called the Healthy Living app. You click on it, it comes up, and down here at the bottom left, it's got where you can hit scan. So you hit scan, you rotate it around, and I basically scanned this can of Barbasol shaving cream. And then what it does is it tells you, do you have a high allergy concern, a cancer concern, or a developmental concern? And there's a high allergy concern, and you can click on this, and it'll give you all of the concerns, the studies that were done to tell you whether it's a concern. So it has lots of information, and then it tells you all the other chemicals. Even though they're not high, you can go in there and read about all the other chemicals. So it's a real easy way to keep a track of what type of chemicals you're bringing into your house and what type of chemicals you're ingesting or putting on your body. It's been a cool improvement. One of my favorite things about living up here in the middle of nowhere is one of the cool things that happens in the sky, and it is super fast. Check this out. So for about 8 months of the year, about once a week, we have jets fly over, and they are awesome to watch. And when you first hear them, you know, they're way out in front of the sound because they've broken the sound barrier, but they fly so low, it's crazy. And most of the time it's 2 planes and then at least 2, if not 4, chaser planes. And you can see that they're basically doing kind of maneuvers and staying close to the mountains. I've had people say they're doing like radar avoidance exercises. But it is amazing to watch how low they can fly, and then how quickly they're flying and popping up over top of the mountain. And it is so loud. Sometimes they've come over and they've been so low that they've literally spooked the cows and got the cows running because they were so low. And there's times that if they fly right over top of the house, they literally rattle the windows. But it is one of my favorite things about living up here is seeing how low they are, and it's just crazy awesome to watch.